Another review with a tense face this time, because this one isn't a mainstream movie. This kind of goes back to The Devil's Rejects or, House of a Thousand Corpses types. This review is for an infamous cult classic that came out in the 70's, which is known as The Wicker Man. That movie is one of the most disturbing movies I have ever watched in my life, and it isn't even legitimately a horror movie. Reason why I say that is because it works as a comedy for the majority of the movie, some dumb, dark comedy, and then when it gets to the ending, that's when things get bad and horrifying. It's about this policeman. He looks like your typical average gentleman-like policeman who's a well-to-do person. He goes to Summerisle, which is a Scottish community, if I remember, Scottish or Irish, one of those two, and he's looking for a missing girl named Rowan Morrison. He goes to the island. He's welcomed in a friendly way by the people, but he's a Christian, like a real hardcore Christian. I mean, it ain't bad, I'm Christian, So, he's not gonna like the islanders because they're pagans, like Celtic pagans. And they're led by a famous laird, as they called it, Lord Summerisle, who's portrayed by Christopher Lee, who is one of my favorite actors. I consider him a legend in the acting business. And he's infamous for being typecast as villains mostly, and this is no exception. He plays the villain. Only time I think I've seen him play the hero was in Howling 2, and that movie, I liked it, but people say it sucked. So, And yes, he plays the leader of that community who, he says their crops, their apple orchards that they sell to make money and stuff had failed them, and they're kind of in debt and stuff like that. And so he believes that by making these sacrifices to their pagan gods, that their orchards will be fruitful again, and they'll blossom. And of course the policeman, who's named Neil Howie, he doesn't like that, and he fusses with the laird, or whatever the heck it is, about, theology issues and stuff like that, and, he scoffs at the thought of a Christian God and stuff, and Howie is outraged. Well, over the course of the movie, Howie faces trials and tribulations, including trying to be seduced by a hot girl who's dancing and prancing naked in front of his room. And although she has a body double, it's, they show almost everything. So I gotta warn you about that. It's a heavy nude scene. And, him being the Christian he is, resists. Which makes me feel bad. But, it's, for its time, it's pretty good. And in a way, it's kind of dated, but it's still considered a classic by many, and a classical horror film. And, like I said, it's a very shocking scene in the ending. Like, people who saw that movie with Nicolas Cage called The Wicker Man, just forget that thing even exists. I mean, it's just stupid. And this movie, when it came out, people loved it. There was a novelization of it. There was talks of a sequel. There was people... It just left people wondering a lot. A lot of debate. And people, like Christopher Lee, considers it his best role, like in films, according to what I've read. I read it on Wikipedia. It could be wrong. I don't know. My one complaint is, what the heck was up with Christopher Lee's hairdo? Like, he doesn't have his classic trademark slick back look. And if he had to have a different hairdo, it didn't have to be like that. Like, he played Saruman in Lord of the Rings, and, it looked cool then, even though it was different. That's just my one complaint. And even though the remake sucked, Nicolas Cage brought a sense of toughness to his character. This guy just looked too much like a gentleman to be taken that seriously, which I think was kind of the point. So yeah, for people looking for a good horror film that's different, watch this one. Skip the remake. Just watch this one. And if you're real hardcore for it, read a book called Inside the Wicker Man. It has a script treatment for the sequel they were about to make called The Loathsome Lambton Worm. It's this. I like that idea. Pretty cool, but I can see why they didn't make it. And yeah, I recommend this to some people who want some good horror that's different and shocking. Just be prepared. There's nothing really that scary until the end. So you'll have to watch it like it's a comedy and then just basically get slapped in the face. And that's it for this review of the infamous Wicker Man.